we're gonna move to a new location. We're moving to just across the way here to Jonesville, which is a historical Black community, and we're gonna be talking to Guy Jones and also Lori Moss, some folks that are working pretty hard to make that community better in the future and more things going on there. So this is an interesting little spot right here, Guy. Lori, what was this place?
This was Jones Dry Cleaning and Snack Shop. This was a place like where my father ran the dry cleaner, where he would go around picking up clothes for people and get them to the dry cleaner. Then he would bring them back here and store them for people to pick up their clothes, or either he took them to them. Mm-hmm. So this was kind of the area, and also, as Lori alluded earlier, this is one of the bus stops for the kids, and it was where they, would hang out and everything. And so, yeah, I'll let Lori go a little further. And
I was gonna say that's what's special about it, and I think it hit me one day. I was at work, and we're leaving them at a safe place, because you could just leave them here and go to school, and you go to work, and they were safe. And my uncle Edward and Aunt Alberta would put them on the bus, put all those kids on the bus, or saw that they got on the bus. So I think that's what makes it really special.
So how many kids would be here in the mornings and stuff when it was back in the day?
I don't know, probably 20.
Yeah.
20. And then at the end of the day, you have a credit because they got candy with no money.
Really?
He would give them candy with no money, or chips for school with no money.
Especially if act good and stuff.
Yeah. So you have to. He would call you, Uncle Ed would call you and say, "You need to come pay your bill."
Yeah.
So it's special. It's special.
So you said probably about 20 kids. So when did it actually close up, Guy? How long did it last?
I think it closed up. It had to be in the early 80s probably, because I had went off to college. I went off to the Army. My brother went to college. I went to the Army. And when I got back, it was still open at that time, but I think it closed somewhere in the 80s. But like I said, but it like I said, it maintained it must have been the 80s, but that's when things started going. He started getting a little older, and he wasn't able to maintain the day-to-day operation of it and stuff like that. But it was like I said, it was prosperous for him. It was a living for him, and that's something he enjoyed doing. And it's just something he enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lori, I guess back then when did you come here when you was a little girl?
I did, and my children. And I was just telling my daughter just moved back here.
Right.
And I was saying, I wish they had the experience of, I wish they Uncle Baby's store.
Yeah.
I wish they had that experience. But
you kind of lost that experience.
Yeah, I had it, my kids had it, but yeah.
Yeah. So back then, I guess the times was different. It was more like family type stuff, and had things like that going on. You don't have today, I don't think.
We weren't as busy with events and activities as kids are today,
Right. Yeah. So you had these things like this, great memories.
Yep.
And the building is still here.
Yeah, the building's still here. We don't, just use it now for family storage and stuff like that. We don't do a lot with it, but it's still here, hanging on.
So it needs to keep it as a feature point, probably.
I think so, I think so, yeah.
Well, Guy, you saying this is one of the first stores in town? Or tell me a little bit about this building.
This was one of the, like I said, first stores in town. Reverend Austin, he was a pastor. Matter of fact, some of the Jeffries belonged to a church called Ledge Rock, and he was a pastor up there at one time. And so he was a businessman. He had dry cleaners. He had one in Raleigh, and he had other businesses that he did. He's, went around selling stuff, and he opened this store. And this store, he ran the store for years back in the late 60s, 70s. And so this was his place, and all the kids would come here, and it was a little large. It's larger, so people would come in and walk around, and he sold different things, snacks. He sold, different items for household. So it was a pretty good business at that time.
Yeah. Down in the end, it looks like it's got a bay. Did they do some work down there?
Well, no. Eventually, in the years after that, it was once he finished with it. This guy named Freddie Kelly was a wrought iron. He did wrought iron. He purchased it, and he started doing his wrought iron here. And he did that for years. He just deceased about a couple of years ago, but he ran it for years, and he ran it up to he deceased. But and he would use that part to take stuff in and out of his the wrought iron. But he did a lot of people fences and
welding.
Welding, whatever equipment they needed. That's what he did.
So I guess, Lori, in the future, what do you see something like this? Do you see some other business coming in here, or you see it reclaimed by doing something different? What do you? I guess what's the vision of the community for something like this?
Definitely. And I'm not sure who owns it now.
But right now, I think, and I don't know the guy, but I think a young guy owns it. And I don't know if he owns it. I think he rents it, and he does like auto mechanic stuff or some different things. So I think it's still being used right now.
Okay.
It's still being used. So I don't know what his plans for in the future and what they're planning to do with it. But as of right now, it's still being used, and he uses it. I see him working on cars and doing different things there right now.
Right. It's a nice building. It could be another store. So when it was a store, did they actually cook burgers in there and stuff like that? Was it a place to eat, or just a place to get groceries and things?
I think most of it was just a place to get groceries and stuff. I don't want to be wrong, but I don't remember much of food thing.
I don't remember. Apparently I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to come here or something. I don't know. But I don't remember that experience. I do remember Reverend Austin. I remember him selling items from house to house.
Okay.
So I bought some bedspreads and curtains from him.
Okay.
As a young adult, but I don't remember the snack shop that well.
So he sold. It was more like a general store then.
Yeah.
That's
More like a general store. It sold just about anything you needed, right?
That's correct.
Sounds like so. Yeah.
So hopefully we can keep it, and I don't, like I said, I don't know what the owner wants to do,
the
but keep it
plans
and
are
restore
right
it and
now,
just keep it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right here on. I guess this is called Jonesville Road, but it's really your main street.
That's the main.
It's really your
street through in and out of Jonesville.
it's really your main street if you want to call one, and this is the perfect location on there to have another. So do you have a store in town? Do you have a place in town to buy things?
No, we don't have one in Jonesville at this point.
Jonesville, no.
And you used to, for sure.
Right. No.
And I guess that's one of the things you're looking in the future to have.
I mean, it would be nice. We're close to Roseville now, but yeah, I mean, to be able to keep landmarks like this and have little stores would be neat.
Be fantastic,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
Because even here, we're here at the store, but down the street, right in the Jefferson area, they had a pool room down there, but the building is no longer there, so but they had a pool room down there, so they had little things going on down there in their pool room, and then, so it was other things to do.
Laura, you definitely won't able to go there with.
Go to the pool. I did not remember that at all.
Yeah, you won't go into a pool. I won't imagine your daddy wouldn't let that happen. Your mom wouldn't. So, but you went though, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
I went to the Jonesville pool room. Yeah, I went to that.
Yeah, I've been that one.
We'll
show you the Jonesville later, but yeah, I've been in that one.
Do you have a pool room now?
No, we don't
Building
have.
is
Don't you
there.
have a pool room?
The
The
building
building's
is there.
still there, but we don't have the pool.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Seemed like it was, like you were saying earlier, so much going on now with people and stuff. You don't have time. But back then, you had a lot of things to do, but it was different more.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was more like a community doing stuff
Yeah,
together rather than people doing things.
Because we did have the ball field
Yeah.
too, where everybody hung out on Sundays after church. You had ball games, and you played the different surrounding communities.
Okay.
So we had a Jonesville baseball team.
Okay.
That's what we hung out on Sunday
That's
evenings.
right.
Yeah.
Every Saturday and Sunday. That's where
Yeah,
you at.
yeah,
Ball
Saturday
field.
and Sunday. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Churches played a big part of the community for history, right? And And I don't know, I know we're here in front of the Friendship Church, but you got several in town now, don't you?
Yeah, we do, really do. Matter of fact, this location was the location that it started as Mount Calvary Holiness Church back then.
Right.
This building was their first edifice that they used. They moved out probably in the 80s.
Yeah. I was thinking
80s.
that, yeah.
And they moved to another location right across the street here. And so this building went dormant for years. And I think this building was just remodeled. And after it was remodeled and everything, I think this church now rents it out. But that is a part of the community churches. We have about four churches in this community. And, that's, part of, I guess, the family in itself, because Mount Calvary was part of the Jeffers church and others, but they were kind of started there. Then we have the Bread of Life, which is down the street we'll talk about. Bread of Life was the Hartsfield, Hazel Hartsfield. They started that. But it wasn't Bread of Life back then, it was Mount Zion Holiness Church. And then we had Universal, which was the Dunns, Greta,
Dunn family.
the Dunn family. They started the Universal. And they had one on the hill called Christ Holiness. It's a guy that moved into Jonesville back in the day, Bishop Montague. He started that one. I think Bishop Dewberry does that now, but that still exists. So those are like the four churches in Jonesville that people that cater to some of the Jonesville residents and others outside of the residents of the area.
Yeah, I know. I live on the other side of Roseville on West Young Street, and I know it's a guy over on West Young Street that goes. I think he goes to Universal Church over here. So I think the churches. It was bigger than the community itself. Jonesville, a lot of people that outside of Jonesville went to churches here. So I guess in the historical days, when it was very rural, I guess a lot of the people out in the country would come to Jonesville to go to church. Is that probably what you remember?
Yeah, that's true. And I think what's significant, as Guy alluded to, is that the families worship together. This, like I said, this was the Emma Jeffries family, descendant of the Hartsfields. And then the Bread of Life was the Hazel Hartsfield family. Most of them went there. And you may see some people go from the different churches. And then you'll see Universal, as he mentioned, was the Greta Dunn family that went there. So, it's huge part of Jonesville.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because back in the day, it was working, farming,
Yep.
a little bit of extra enjoyment, activities, sports, but then and then church. But church was number one. Church was everybody went to church on Sunday.
Right. You didn't have to ask you going to church.
That's right.
You knew you were going to church.
That's right.
You knew you were going on
Couldn't
church.
do the others if you didn't go to church.
Yeah.
That's such a
And
cute statement.
I talked a lot to people from New Bethel. Y'all know New Bethel Church there, in Roseville.
Right.
And the history of that is old too. And it was sort of a key part of the community.
Right.
So back 50, 60 years ago in Jonesville, the churches, did you see them as a key part of the community?
Definitely. Definitely a key part of the community.
Just about everything sometimes happened around the church, didn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Homecoming and the people go back home, come back home to homecoming at churches, at the different churches.
Because even at that time, Corinth was where Maddie and John Hartsfield went. See, Corinth over on 96 Highway. And even on, like you mentioned, on homecoming and stuff, all the families would come together and just worship at Corinth, because, it was homecoming and all the churches would come and just fellowship together. So, that was a big, key part of it.
Church,
the church and the community.
Yeah. So, God, tell us a little bit about this location here.
This back in I guess this was the late 60s, early 70s. This was Jonesville. This was the pool room, what they call the pool room. And everybody would come from near and far just to come here to come and shoot pool. They had a pool hall on one side, dance floor on one side, and Raymond would run this, and they come down and people like I said, from here far they come down just to shoot pool and dance, and boy, this place, and eat, and he sold and this one he sold sandwiches and stuff like that.
He did sell sandwiches.
This one, and so this was a hangout. And when you talk about Jonesville, it's the first thing most people talk about. Yeah, I remember that. We used to come down to the pool room, and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
this was called Jonesville Pool Room, and so this was a big hangout for the
surrounding communities.
For the teenage crowd, the crowd that was getting teenage and above.
Yeah.
Well, I said the upper age crowd and
Right.
above.
So, Lori, were you allowed to come to this one?
I came here to eat. Yeah.
You did?
I could come here and get a sandwich and go home. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hung out a little bit here.
So you remember this one?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, yes. I remember this one.
So how active would it be? I mean, was it like the only or best place to go in town at that time, or in the community at that time, or what was the importance of it? I guess.
I think just fun.
Yeah, I think
It was
just,
fun?
I don't.
Yeah.
I think it was just fun for people to have somewhere to come and hang out with other people
Right.
and meet other people, not just from the community, but you would have people from Knightdale, Zebulon,
Raleigh Hill.
Wake Forest. You'd have the community come and just come here and hang out.
Yeah.
And so I think it was more important people then just to have somewhere to come and hang out and see other people that they didn't know, because you didn't see people like you do now. Like
Right.
Lori
Right.
mentioned
It was so
earlier,
busy.
you didn't have the activities that you have now. You didn't have them back then. So if you wasn't farming or doing what you were doing, this was the time you got to hang out.
Yeah.
And so this was everybody just come out and hang out.
Yeah, and we
so,
mentioned earlier about the ball field.
Yeah.
It's right, all the way down this
This
street.
little
all the
street.
way-
Down this street.
So after the ball game, people just came here and hung out.
Anybody use the ball field anymore down there?
No, it's not even it's not even in use anymore. It's been trees grown up on it and everything, but that was a real, like you said, that was where people hung out to play.
I do remember that.
To play ball and have fun, and like on Saturdays and Sundays, people from everywhere would come. You play different teams in the community, so that they would make sure they had games. If you wasn't paying out there, you were away, that weekend.
Right.
You was in Pierce, or you was in
Right.
Raleigh Hill, or
Yeah.
you was in Zebulon.
So how did who ran the ball field? How was it managed? Was it by a church or by just a group of people? Or
It was mostly my uncle that ran the pool room, my uncle Willoughby that stayed next door, him and different uncles. They all would come, and some would scrape and do different things, but they just took turns taking care of it and trying to run it.
it's more like a volunteer type
Volunteer
or
thing.
family
Right.
type thing, yeah. So do y'all have plans in your historical future to do anything with the ball field, or?
Not that I'm aware of with the ball field,
No.
but just keeping the buildings if we can. If the owners say we can keep the buildings in place.
No, we don't have plans for the ball field because I think that's in somebody else's hands there and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, we do want to try to maintain these little historical part, like the pool room. We would love to, keep that in the community and stuff like that.
Yeah. So back when the pool hall was going and the other stores, you was talking about the dry cleaners and snack shops and stuff like that. I guess, was that the good old days? Is that what you consider the good times? In other words, today, does the kids have the same opportunities to do, I guess, stuff like that?
Good, wholesome fun. Wow, they have fun.
Well, I think the difference is back then we looked for an outlet. We looked for something to do. We looked for somewhere to go, somewhere to play in the community. We looked for things to do. But now the kids are most kids now, they're not on a computer or a phone or something,
Traveling.
traveling or playing AAU ball or something like that.
It's more organized.
You're right.
They
right.
look for organized things where
Yeah.
where back then you had to create your own.
Create your own
Yeah, exactly.
activities.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's right. Well, it's good. It's good to have the memories, but I guess the young people, they're missing out on some of them good times, ain't they?
I say they are. They may not agree, but
They don't know what they're missing.
they don't know what they're missing.
They don't
so
know
yeah,
what they're missing,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I just think this is significant. It's one of the, we talked about churches and family. Grady Dunn, one of the descendants of Maddie and John Hartsfield, is where most of their family worshipped.
Right.
So, and they actually had a store
Yeah.
here somewhere. I'm not sure where, part of this property. So,
And her daughter, Allie V, was a minister, as well as her husband.
pastors.
They were pastors, so they pastored this facility, and I think it's moved on down to the family,
Yeah.
to the kids,
Yeah.
because they got kids that are pastors
Pastoring.
now.
Right.
So, but it's and they have kept this going for years and years. So it's one of the legacies of Jonesville.
Yep, yep.
And you said it was a store on this property
I
too?
think it was on the other side of the
Other side of the
church.
Uh-huh.
It's no longer there. Yeah.
So at one time there was a lot of stores in Jonesville.
So you
Well,
could get some chips and
and
cookies.
the thing is, I guess it was just a convenience for people that, that was in the area.
Right.
To have to run, find, Roseville. At that time, it don't seem far now, but at that time it was a little farther
It
than
was
what,
far, yeah.
Right, right.
So.
So you was more self-contained and, all in one community. Community, did just about everything with the church and all. So, so this is probably one of the bigger churches in town. Is that, or maybe one of the more, I guess this is Universal Church.
Yeah,
So
this is Universal. It's one that's been here for a while, for as long as we can remember, and it's still hanging. It's
It's still there, yeah.
so it's more your legacy church.
One of our legacy churches, and I think they're all about the same size. Yeah.
You think they're all about
Yeah.
the same size?
Yeah.
Well, good. Just this is the oldest one.
One of the older ones in the church, and
Yeah.
like I said, there was one over here. That was Mount Zion Holiness. That was Hazel Hartsfield Family Church.
One of the sons
Son
of Maddie
and
and John.
their family was there. So, and like I said, they're all about the same size, but they
Yeah.
were just something that for their families and something they, had to, I guess, keep their families in church.
Together, yeah.
Is it still a lot of families still live here, or is it a lot of new people have started moving into the community?
Well, it's kind of a combination. It's still a lot of family,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of newcomers that moved in recently, and so as transition takes on and people die out, people move in, and how people they move in from that point on, because like you said, if a house is vacant or something, people move in there. They may not be family. They may be, just somebody rent or somebody moving in. So it's still a lot of people moving in, but it's still a lot of family.
What about the your new or your I guess your younger Jonesville related people, the young folks in your families? Are they staying, or are they mostly moving in other places? And
It's hard to talk about. Now I can talk about my family.
Yeah.
So like I said, I just had a daughter to move back. We have
Oh, okay.
We have property for our other children.
Okay.
If they choose to move back, what we have is called Jonesville Community Connect, the new organization. And before, when you moved to Jonesville, you knew somebody. You were connected to.
you had a connection.
Yeah, you had a connection. But like Guy was saying, now some of the people we don't know. But to answer your question, I do think we have, you have kids that have moved back,
Right.
and but yeah, we will hope
That's great.
they will all move back. Yeah.
That means the Jonesville name or the Jonesville connection, as you call it, won't die out.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's still thriving and working. And I guess that's a good legacy,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that's one of the things that we really want to try to put an input in these younger kids that it's it's not a bad place to live, and we want to make them feel like they want to come back home.
Right.
We don't want to make it where, we don't want things to happen around us where we're just left out and then nobody wants to come back because we're not included in what's going on around us. So we want to make sure that when things are going on around us that we're included, so this place can at least look like something they would want to come back to.
Right. Right.
No, you talking Maggie Poo?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just saying because, the thing is, these things were important to us, and people we soon to forget things like she had a store, and that lady would make sure that, people in her neighborhood was catered to.
Right.
And that's all I want, because that's, it's important that we don't forget who was important to our community, who tried to do things to help the community, who tried to, make sure that they were known in the community by doing the things that they could do to enhance it.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do. We want to continue to try to enhance our community and make sure that we're, trying to make it a better place for our kids, or the kids, of the future to come in and continue this legacy. Because that's what we want to do. We want to, make it a place that
They want to come home
they
to.
want to come home to. When they come home and when they go off to college or when they go off to service or whenever they go off to jobs, that they can say, man, I still can go back to Jonesville and feel comfortable and feel
Right.
like,
Have a home. That's come back home. So her store, where was her store at?
it was right behind her house, right off Jonesville Road. It was,
And she
right.
ran that for many years.
Yeah, for years. It was a little small store, but
I miss
it
that.
was right behind the house,
I miss that. I think a key thing of Jonesville too is farming.
Yeah.
All
We
the
didn't talk about
sisters,
that,
yeah,
but it
the
is.
sisters had, and I say the sisters, but the brothers as well. They all had their farming areas, and I think that taught us work ethic.
Right.
It really did. You hated it then, but I
Right.
think about the work ethic that we learned from farming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Because like you said, everybody back then farmed. Everybody.
Yeah,
John Hartsfield, the senior, he was a farmer.
Yeah.
Then you go down to the kids and the people that came in that married the daughters.
Right.
The guys
right,
that married the daughters, they were farmers. And all of that's what this. Most of the houses that you see and most of the stuff that's back off the street, all of that was farmland,
Farmland,
and
yeah.
we farmed it.
Yeah.
And that's how we were brought up.
Yeah.
I remember the days when my grandfather would go down the road. We didn't have, he'd go down the road blowing his horn. That means get up. You know what I'm saying? When he come back up the road,
Right. Better be ready to go.
be ready to go. And that's what we remember, because he was entitled to say, "You're gonna be there." And I don't have to ask your mom and dad. No,
Right, exactly.
I don't have to ask your mom and dad if you gonna work. You gonna work. And
Exactly,
that was our key. That we had to work. I mean, I remember 7, 8 years old. We was out there. If you too old, if you're not ready to prime it,
Right.
go to the barn and pick up leaves.
Picking up cucumbers, don't forget
Drive
that.
the tractor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's hard work too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was hard work.
And then we would get to the cucumber market, and we would see maybe some Aunt Maggie's people there, or
Different
we
ones,
would
like
see
you
them at the cucumber
Right.
market. Yeah. So,
Right. Yeah, that's good.
It was an out,
It was an outing. It was going to the cucumber market.
Yeah. So you thought you done something.
Yeah.